Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, I got Lakers on my mind. Of course, we played game one yesterday. Got our butts whooped. Pretty good. Embarrassed the hell out of ourselves. I listened to Talking Heads. I listened to myself about 3 times. And just really absorbed how I was feeling about that game. And had a lot of people who I listened to reaffirm that my view on what I was seeing pretty much was what I was seeing. This was a case of the Los Angeles Lakers being entirely too rested, if that makes any sense in my opinion. And we got certain players on this team. Somebody pointed this out. I think it was poignant. But a guy like Austin Reeves don't usually play well when he has too much time away from the court, fresh off. It usually takes him about 2 games or 3 games to get his rhythm if he has too much time off. This is a very consistent thing with him. And then we have a couple other guys on this team that I think that might be the case as well. So going into this game, we should have been able to anticipate that based on that data. And having too much time off is not good. Also, though I have no evidence of this and I don't know nothing about nothing, I can just say what it looks like. To me, it looks like the Minnesota Timberwolves practice more than the Los Angeles Lakers. It looks like they're more on a string. I know that their team has been together for longer, which is something we also need to take into account, because they have had the majority of what they have be with one another for about 3-4 years now. Some of them guys have been on that team for 7-8 years. So the continuity factor is something that I don't think I did enough of a good enough job of illustrating how that could hurt us, because we just kind of slapped all this stuff together last minute over the last, say, 6 months. So for me, I'm wondering if that's not going to hurt this team as well. And the continuity factor, the fact that you're going up against a team that's been together for so long. And then they do have more athletic wings. They do have bigger players. And we do have some guys who are not of high caliber. As I said, I think the Los Angeles Lakers need Austin, LeBron, and Luka to be superstars every night. In this series specifically, in order for this team to be successful, because they outclass us in every other area with their role players. Their starters and their role players from top to bottom, especially on the back of their bench, further back of their bench, is just more talented than all our guys. We have that big three. That big three needs to flex hard every night. And if we can't get nothing out of but one of those guys, you're going to lose this series or lose that game. That specific, whatever that game is, you're probably going to lose it. And that was what we had happen yesterday. And then just the scheme, man. The scheme was not good. For us to have had a week to scheme this team, I hope we have a plan that involves us shifting away from this stuff that we did last night. Because it was a lot of stuff that we did out there last night that didn't make any sense based on what it is that we've already known about certain players on that team. Jaden McDaniels having a career season scoring the ball. We left him open. Nas Reed has killed us ever since he was drafted. Every time he see the Lakers, he act like we passed him up in the draft or something. You know, when he wanted to be a Laker all his life. That's how he plays. And so for me, it's like, and we scheme him open from behind the arc repeatedly. I hope this is some elaborate super genius play to give the Minnesota Timberwolves some false bravado about themselves, that they have seen what we're going to be, only for us to come out and blitz them with a bunch of other stuff over the next 3 games. I hope that's what I'm looking at, some type of elaborate Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope type basketball series scheme. I hope. Because a lot of what they did yesterday did not play into their own hands. It exploited a lot of their deficiencies against this roster. And there were things that this roster did against us that I think can be duplicated. Even if the scoring, the shooting numbers, which were fantastic for Minnesota, pulls back. The athleticism and them being quicker to 50-50 balls, they're going to have quicker players on the floor at all times. Dante DiVincenzo, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, You know, if they decide to go Terrence Shannon, if they decide to go Rob Dillingham, you know, some of these guys that they have, Mike Conley, they should be quicker than us. They have the ability to be quicker and more athletic than us all series long. Jaden McDaniels, obviously. Julius Randle. And Julius Randle is a factor into himself because he can bully us in such a way that puts a lot of pressure on LeBron James to absorb contact, which is why I've put such an emphasis before and after game one on the decision to not retain Trey Jemison for the playoffs. I understand that his contract may have been more beneficial for us to hold on to since we have him on tap for next season, but I don't give a damn about that as much as I know I will need him this playoffs. Probably more than I will need him next season. Because next season, if we're doing what we're supposed to do, we could probably upgrade our center position to where his role is different. You needed him more now. And so I just wish the Los Angeles Lakers would have saw it that way. It's like, yeah, he might be on a favorable contract, this, that, and the third. All of that is cool, but you need him now. There's nothing more important than the playoffs. And you kicked his contract down the road for next season's regular season, for which you know you're going to address his role to make it so that you don't need him as much. You know he's a role player, don't hold a lot of value in this league, so it's not like if you have him on contract, you feel great about getting something for him. You need him specifically for the weaknesses of this roster, and he's not on the team, and now you're going up against a team that can exploit that problem. And so for me, it's just like, yo, the Lakers, I mean, there should be some concern here, if I'm being honest with you. I know you don't lose a series in game one, but what does end up happening when you lose is certain things are exposed to you. And the things that have been exposed to me is that the Los Angeles Lakers are at a size, quickness, and length disadvantage against this team. So that while we are so reliant upon our stars to play so well, they can effectively, with their roster, neutralize some of those stars. They can effectively remove Austin Reeves from this series, basically, is what I'm telling you guys. I don't think Austin is expected to have a good series based on all of the defenders that they could put on him and the pressure they're going to put on him. Now, is he going to have a game where he goes off? I'd imagine Austin's a hell of a player. He's gotten a lot better. He's going to have a game or two where he goes off. But throughout the course of this series, they can do to him what makes him less effective. So now you render to two stars. And if LeBron James is going to be at a disadvantage because he has to keep banging up against people like Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, and Naz Reid all series, then you can pretty much remove his production over the course of a 6-game series. He might give you a game or two of that good LeBron production, but Julius is going to be a stone, man, all series long on LeBron James, neutralizing some of what makes him strong. So now you're left with Luka the Don, who could probably get wherever he wants. But what we learned yesterday is if Luka is getting off the way he used to with Dallas, it leaves the rest of our team useless. And they don't get off to their fast start that they used to be able to get off to when Anthony was on the team. You would see guys like Rui and Austin be more involved in the offense than what we saw yesterday and some points of the regular season as well, when Luka gets off to these great starts or cold starts if the shot's not falling. It doesn't get people involved. Luka's going to have to see the fruit and getting Austin involved. Yesterday, you know what I saw? In the first quarter, I saw LeBron James defer to Luka the Don for about 3 or 4 straight possessions while Luka strung together shots that happened to fall. But whether they fall or not, the truth of the matter is, it has the same effect. Other guys not getting the ball. Other guys not feeling involved. And you know what LeBron did when he finally got the ball? He immediately kicked that thing out to Austin, because LeBron understands what it is I just described and felt it was more important that Austin get a touch more than himself get in rhythm. The first thing LeBron did when he finally got the ball, after Luka had shot it like 8 times in a row, he finally got the ball, he immediately put it in Austin's hands. I appreciated that. But I also understand that now I don't have LeBron in rhythm. And LeBron James is not used to not being able to get in rhythm. LeBron James doesn't particularly play well when he doesn't get enough touches. He can morph, people like to say, he can morph into being whatever he wants to be and whatever the team needs him to be. That's right, yes. But are you getting the most out of him when you're asking him to be a defender and a catch and shoot guy? And is he going to be able to find his rhythm in those spaces as often as you need him to against adequate defense? And the answer is no. Game 1 showed us that is no. The hell no. He needs his looks. He needs his touches. He needs to be able to find a rhythm early, and he needs to be able to get other people involved as well. So Luka, as I said last night in my reaction to the game, Luka's going to have to sacrifice those early touches and those early shots, even though they can run the score up. He's going to have to understand that if his other guys don't touch the ball, whatever's running up the score he does, the team is going to give back, man. And just the same, the team is going to have to learn how to play better when he doesn't do that. When he wants to go off and get in an early rhythm for himself and act like Dallas Luka, we got to be able to do things that are constructive on the basketball floor and not just stand around and not be lackadaisical because we're not getting our touches. Rui Hachimura. What I like about Rui Hachimura, and we're going to get into what I like because we about to really break down something else that I don't like. And maybe I've already talked about this, but what I like about Rui Hachimura is that he's a very, very reliable shooter, scorer. He's one of the most efficient players that you're going to find in a role. One of the most efficient players. You can count on him to hit shots more than a lot of guys because he just has that ability. It's one of the things that make him an NBA player is that he gonna hit shots when a lot of other role players are gonna miss him. You can count on him in that way. And that's why I don't want to shop him next season, because I feel like if I get rid of him, once I replace him, I'm likely going to replace him with guys who are not as efficient and not as reliable. And that spacing and that reliability in that way is uber valuable. So that is his superpower, so to speak. I can give him 16 shots. I can expect for him to hit about 10 of them. He's very, very efficient. He's a very, very efficient scorer. Far more efficient than most people in his category around the league, in his class. But there are things about Rui Hachimura's game and his overall way of doing things that just is not smart. And we have a very smart basketball team. But there are things that he does defensively, the way he reads the game sometimes, or lack thereof, that really brings him back down to earth. I think part of that has to do with him learning the game in another country. I think part of that has to do with him not developing very well in Washington and kind of getting his development process going with our team, coupled with that whole first year where we didn't even utilize him properly to give him the minutes. So, in all intent and purposes, when I look at Rui Hachimura, I see a guy who's still developing basketball IQ, developing overall savviness, and just getting reps in the NBA. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that this is the case, because they see how many years he's been in the league. He's been here, 7 years, something like that, 6 years? But when you look at his Washington years, he barely got on the floor. When you look at the first year with the Lakers, he barely got on the floor because we were trying to do weird stuff to assure that we got him on a good price. Now, from there, we threw him out there as a starter. But this is actually really only his second year being a main piece. Not to mention that in Washington, he also had some injury issues. This year, he had some injury issues. So he hasn't been on the floor as much as most people who've been in the league as long as him, of his caliber. And he'd been making mistakes that remind me of that. And yesterday he made plenty of those mistakes. Now, some of the stuff that I think went wrong down there, based on who I was listening to, was scheme. We're going to play off of certain people and stop the drill and, stop whatever's going on in the paint, clog the paint. Rui had a big to do with that. So I don't know I'm not certain how much of this had to do with the scheme and how much of it had to do with him. But there were certain things. He had a situation where you got LeBron James driving at the rim on a live ball situation and doesn't get the ball because Rui passes it somewhere else. I've never seen anything like that. With LeBron James in stride, full speed, running toward the basket, with nothing but the ball to dunk afterward. Nobody really in place to keep him from getting to the rim. And the person who has the ball, instead of getting the ball to him in stride, passes the ball to a player in the perimeter who's defended. I mean, just bonehead stupidity, I'm telling you. This happened in like the first quarter, I believe it was. His court vision is one of his most glaring deficiencies. It's just court awareness when it comes to certain things. 9 out of 10 NBA players in that situation gonna get the ball to LeBron James, and you got 2 points, gun to the line. Rui Hachimura passing the ball out to, like, I don't remember who he had, Dodo or something? When Dodo had a defender in front of him behind the arc, all Dodo was gonna do is pass the ball again. You got to work the ball back to Bron in the paint in that situation. I think that's how that went. They didn't get no playoff in that situation. We didn't even really get a decent attempt. So when you got situations like this, where you got underdeveloped Rui with a deficiency for ball movement and defensive principles, out there playing big minutes, following a scheme that's leaving people open that shouldn't even be left open, yeah, he's going to have a significantly bad plus minus. I think it was a minus 28. That's because you had two different things working against him. You had his own deficiencies working against him, and you had the scheme that he was involved in working against him. We have never used Rui correctly, in my opinion. He's a guy that you just want scoring the ball, bro. I don't need him trying to be a rebounder. I don't need him to be a punish taker. I don't need him to be doing too much defensively unless it's weak side help situations where he's blocking shots on the weak side. I need his role to be extremely simple, bro. Score the damn ball. Finish. Get your mid-range shot going. Get your three-point shot going. Drive at the rim at times without too many dribbles attached to it. Very simple stuff, bro. And right now, I felt like we were just a little too reliant upon him to be able to overcome that scheme and just be better than he was. And I don't know that we can ask him to be better than he is. I can't ask him to be just a scientist out there. I'm not going to get that out of him. I need to keep it real simple. And then when we struggle, when the mustard starts falling off the hot dog, you got to sit him down. And one of the things that I do have a problem with JJ Redick is that there are a number of players on this roster that I don't think it knows how to utilize. He don't know how to use these people. Vando, I don't think he understands. I don't think he gets Vando. I don't think he gets him. And because he doesn't get him, we're not getting the most out of him, which we need. In this series, you're going to need Vando to guard people like Jaden McDaniels, to guard people like Terrence Shannon, to guard people like Anthony Edwards. Most of the game. He's someone who's played with Anthony Edwards. Someone who played with Jaden McDaniels. So that you can't seem to scheme him into the equation because he's a terrible finisher of the basketball. That's one weakness amongst many positives that he can bring to the table. You see what I'm saying? That one weakness, because that weakness is so glaring and JJ doesn't know how to hide that weakness very well, he only wants to play Vando maybe 12 minutes a game, 16 minutes a game. But you have an athleticism issue with going against this roster. You have a 50-50 ball quickness issue going up against this roster. You potentially have a rebounding issue going against this roster. And you can't use one of your most positive assets in all of those areas because he doesn't fit on the offense. You can't find a way to hide him enough on offense to get all that good out of him on them areas. That's a real problem. The fact that he doesn't feel confident enough to keep Vando on the floor because of that one glaring deficiency amongst all of those positive things that he must bring to the table in these playoffs, it could be the difference between us winning and losing the series. It's his lack of confidence that he can utilize Vando properly. I feel the exact same way about Dalton Knecht. Dalton Knecht is a terrible defender, but he's one of the most lethal shooters in the entire draft last year. One of the most lethal, potent, pure three-level scorers in the draft last year. He's also one of your best wing rebounders. He also has length that can actually stumble into stops at times, even though he's a terrible defender. His length, he stumbles into getting stops every once in a while. Are there things that go wrong if he's on the floor? Sure. Do you have 5 players that can score better than him on this entire roster? No. But because you can't get him to be a plus defender, I gotta score 95 points in total with 8 points off of my damn bench when I got this guy on my team who can score 50 in a game if I just let him go. But because you don't feel confident that he can defend, I don't get any of that scoring. This is my problem with JJ. And I don't have many problems with JJ. I think he's a good coach. But these issues are why the Lakers are probably not going to win this year, man. Because he doesn't know how to get the most out of players that he doesn't feel confident he can use. Vando's your best defender. Now that Anthony Davis is gone, Vanderbilt is your very best defender. You must find a way to utilize him to his strengths. Even though his weaknesses may hurt you, you still need to find a way to utilize his strengths. Dalton Knecht is your best bench scorer by a million miles. There's no one on our bench that can approach the talent level of Dalton Knecht. It is nobody on our bench that has more upside or is expected to be a better player than Dalton Knecht. He is your most talented bench player. How he's been phased out of your unit, out of your lineup all season long just because he has a deficiency is beyond me, because when you really consider it, all players have deficiencies. All players have deficiencies. But those 2 players, though one way as hell they are, have superpowers. And we can't utilize these people because JJ don't have the confidence that he can get the most out of them. That's the problem. And so Vando's defense, that he could practically guard any damn body, Dalton Knecht's 40-point game that's likely going to win us a game or 2 in these playoffs is never going to happen because our coach doesn't feel confident in playing these people. It's the same problem I have with the Minnesota Timberwolves. As good as they looked against us, do you know how much better their roster actually is if they actually use Terrence Shannon, Rob Dillingham, and Josh Minott? Do you know? Does anyone have any idea how much more athletic their team actually is back there? How much more potent their offense is way back there? No, nobody has no clue, man. You would have had to do homework on these people in the draft to know what the hell is hiding back there. Because that stupid coach ain't playing none of these people, bro. And I'm telling you, the Lakers had the same problem to a much lesser degree because JJ is the same way as a lot of these damn coaches. They just, because they have certain ways they need to be able to scheme, and these players don't fit those schemes, you can't get what those players bring to the table in a very positive way. For which in this series, you need both of these guys, Vando and Dalton Knecht. You need them both. Dalton Knecht is one of the best three-point shooters we've ever drafted. He is 24 years of age, 23 years of age. Ain't like he a kid. He's already scored over 30 points in 2 basketball games this season. And we're running players on our bench that barely do anything in a lot of cases. Vanderbilt can help us defensively. Granted, I wanted to say Vincent. Vincent is helpful defensively. Granted, he can hit some open shots. And because he's capable of hitting open shots, he, though significantly less talented than Dalton Knecht and Vando in respective ways, fits JJ's system. So even though Gabe Vincent can run around for 35 minutes and not do a damn thing, which is a massive deficiency in a million different areas, JJ feels more confident in playing this guy because he fits a damn system. Because he can hit a corner shot, and that's required. Bro, I'm not trying to give up on superpowers because of your system. When half of the time, if I listen to people, we're not even running organized offense. When we do have players that fit the system half the damn time, we're not even running organized offense. We're freelancing a good 55% of the damn time. But you're leaving players off the floor because they don't fit the damn system. This is what I'm talking about. And we wonder why the Lakers look bad yesterday. It's little stuff like this that ends up eating away at your overall ability to defend a team that's more fast than you, as currently constructed, bigger than you, as currently constructed. We're going up against a team with 14 feet of centers out there. Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Julius Randle. Julius Randle is a damn dinosaur out there, and I'm not talking about the old kind. I'm talking about the fast kind. Kind that can move really, really fast. That's what I mean by dinosaur in this case. A freight train. A raptor, more or less. A Tyrannosaurus Rex. Little bitty arms, super fast base. And you got Jackson Hayes playing only 8 minutes, and he's the only 7-footer you can use. Leaving us at a severe disadvantage, man. Dalton Knecht is one of your most athletic players. That's another thing that needs to be understood. Dalton Knecht, a slam or dunk on your head. One of your most athletic players. Dorian Finney-Smith is up and down, left and right, man. I love him to death because he's an efficient shooter, a very, very solid defender. But he's a little older now. He ain't wiggly enough to be keeping up with fast dudes. You know, guys that have a lot of wiggle and stuff like that. Yeah, he's very limited when it comes to dribbling the basketball at the rim. He's limited. He would rather kick it out even when he has a lane because he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his dribbling ability, which is fine because he knows himself. But like that's not something I need on the floor all the time, bro. When I got Dalton Knecht who can make something out of that play. Just because Vando and Dalton have some very poor weaknesses does not mean that your team can afford to live without their superpowers. That's the moral of the story. Those are two of your most athletic players. The 2 most athletic players on your bench, outside of Bronny James, basically. The 2 most athletic players on your bench. And then furthermore, Jackson Hayes, who's also one of your most athletic players in a different way, but he gets off the ground, catch and lob, all of that. One of your most athletic players. So you're removing 3 of our most athletic players against a team that is more athletic than us any damn way. And you expect to be able to have success when they're quicker, faster, bigger, and stronger than you? And you want to run your guys that are up and down, left and right, Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith, up, down, left, right. No real wiggle, man. Not real athleticism. Ain't getting too far off the ground and not moving too damn fast. You're going to remove all that and you're going to leave yourself with those players because they fit the system. You and your system are going home. It's very simple. You and your system are going to be out of the playoffs very soon. If that's how you're limiting yourself, you're moving your most athletic players, and you're going to leave yourself guys that role guys that don't have a whole lot of upside, but the floor is strong. They're going to be on the floor. That's the truth. And so that's my point of view, man. After that game one, it showed me some things. And when you couple that with our unwillingness to retain Trey Jemison, who's going to take a lot of punishment for LeBron James, going to take a lot of punishment for Luka Doncic, who's going to take a lot of punishment for Rui Hachimura, who's already hobbling into this postseason with a knee. I don't think people forget that Rui's not 100%. It was just 2 weeks ago that he said he needed more rest, and then he was going to feel that knee for the rest of the playoffs. Something of that nature, he said. He's just going to feel it because he needs a lot of rest and they can't afford it. Vanderbilt, Jackson Hayes, and Dalton Knecht need to be utilized somehow in this series, or I think there's a good chance we're not going to win the series. I need Vanderbilt's 50-50 balls and defense and all of these different things, rebounding and his hustle plays. I need that crap on the floor against this Minnesota team. That stuff is needed. 16 minutes of that is not enough. There's 48 minutes in a basketball game. You give me 16 minutes of Vando against that roster, and you're going to see more of what you saw. What's the solution to Vando's issues offensively? Stop passing him the damn ball. I need the Lakers to study the 96 Bulls. How often did they actually pass the ball to Dennis Rodman? They didn't. They did not. You don't. I need Luka, LeBron, and Austin to stop passing Vanderbilt the ball. The way Vanderbilt helps you is the ball ends up in his hands somehow off of the defensive play that he makes. You look up, he has the ball in his hands. That's it. That's all. This is my problem with Vanderbilt. It's not Vanderbilt. It's how we've used him the entire time. Darvin Ham wanted to pass him the ball in the corner to prove that he shouldn't be left alone. But he's being left alone for a reason, a sound one. He can't shoot. So if you're going to try to reinforce that for which he can't do to prove that how he's being guarded shouldn't be, you're going to fail because he's open for a reason. And then you're going to give up on the player because you can't have him shoot the ball. He can't shoot. But he can help you in this area, this area, this area, this area, this area, for which your team is deficient in all of them. How about just living with the fact that you can't pass him the ball, living with the fact that he's literally somebody who's going to shrink the floor for your offense, and also living with the fact that he's going to get the ball back in the difference of that in some random ways that 90% of the league is not going to come up with because they're not nearly as gifted as him at those things that he's good at to make it not be all right. Because for all of the issues that you're going to have on the offensive end, he's going to be a plus in areas where everybody else is a negative because he can do stuff that nobody else can do. Thus, making it all okay. This is the problem with both Darvin Ham and JJ Redick. They don't see how living with the deficiencies of the players that have these glaring weaknesses is going to be fine because they're going to make up for it by doing the things that they can do that no one else can, which is going to give you some of them possessions back. So while the floor is shrunk with Vando on the floor, and you have a minus offensive player, if you let him get in the rhythm, just like you do all these damn shooters, He's going to come up with the ball 6 or 7 times out of nowhere. He's going to get in transition and dunk the ball in ways where you didn't even know how the ball ended up in his hands. It just ended up in his hands. This is what he can do that no one else can. While they're able to play in your system and keep the spacing, they ain't doing none of that stuff he do. So on the back end, if you were to look at it inverted, you could look at every player who provides you spacing and say, because you can't do the things that Vando can do, you're useless to me. If you want to look at it that way. Because you're still getting cut one end or another. Which is why it comes back to balance. But it gives you a superpower if you utilize these players with these super strengths and live with their weaknesses, because you find yourself being more of a plus than a weakness because they are superpowers that they have. Dalton Connect can go for 35, 40 points, hit 7 or 8 threes and run the damn score up while Luka's sitting down. Yeah, he may not necessarily be able to stop anybody, but he's going to be a positive because he's going to be able to score more than he gives up. And if you utilize Vanderbilt, guess what he's going to be able to do? Make up stops for every opportunity he misses at a layup or a three-point shot in the corner. You got to utilize these guys to their superpowers so you can enjoy the fruits of those superpowers. Living with their weaknesses is not the way to look at it. As it pertains to I can't live with their weaknesses, that's not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is these weaknesses balance themselves out because of the great things that they're going to do if I utilize them properly. So let's not play into their weaknesses. I understand that when it comes to Dalton Connect, he may get switch hunted. That can become a problem if he's not hitting shots. I may not be able to hide that as well as I can hide Vanderbilt as it pertains to the offensive end, where I just don't need him scoring at all. Don't do nothing, Vando. Just pass the rock like you did in the first quarters of game 1. When you catch the ball, you look for the open perimeter player if you can find him. Maybe you might attack a little bit to keep people honest, but the majority of the time, I don't need you looking for your shot, bro. I just need you utilizing all of your energy on the defensive end and just miraculously come up with the ball like you often do. It just pops up and it's in your hands. Like, how the hell he get the ball? Who knows? But we're going the other way. Easy bucket for LeBron. Like, that's all I need Vando to do. I don't need to be running no plays for him just because he's being left open, and I can't, like, my mind just cannot live with the idea that he's shrinking the floor for Luka to Don. Like, my mind can definitely live with that. Because if we lose possessions in that way, he's going to make up for it in different ways. You know, where it becomes a problem is when you run plays for him and he misses 3 layups and he's missing threes, and all of a sudden he's losing possessions, getting in foul trouble, and then you have to sit him down anyway and you're down by 9 because of him. So stop passing him the damn ball. Stop exploiting his weaknesses, trying to will them into being strengths, or at least balanced. They're not going to be. You can't will him into being a plus shooter. You may not be able to keep people from hunting Dalton Connect. But if you find Dalton Connect around the perimeter, he's probably going to give you 25 points. As to where the people you're using ain't giving you no points. And they still getting cooked. And see, that's the problem. It's not like these players that he's using are just world beaters in the areas that are balanced. They're not. They're getting cooked. Okay, Vincent just jogging back and forth doing that damn. That's nothing, bro. Nothing. But the spacing's fine. They still scoring. He's not. And he's short. They can hunt him too in certain situations. I mean, it's just... I need people to stop overreacting to players who have superpowers but glaring deficiencies as it pertains to I can't use them because of those deficiencies. You're not finding their superpowers, and you need those superpowers, period. That's the moral of this rant. Especially in this series where the other team has faster, stronger, more athletic, longer players than you. You need the length of Dalton Connect. You need the offense of Dalton Connect. You need the defense of Vanderbilt. And the spontaneous, how the hell did he get the ball in his hands? We're going the other way. And the 50-50 ball genius that he has. 50-50 ball genius. When I say 50-50 ball genius, I don't know that there's a better role player in all of basketball for this, as it pertains to him getting 50-50 balls, enforcing live ball situations, catching people off guard, getting under their skin, all that stuff you really need in the playoffs. I can't think of 7 players in this league that I'd rather have for those things than Vanderbilt. And I am one that is actually tired of Vanderbilt when it comes to us passing him the rock and him missing layups. Not being able to score when 90% of basketball players can score in certain situations. Catching the ball in stride, not going up quick enough. Going up at bad angles and stuff. He's damn near not an NBA player when it comes to that stuff. I'm dead sick of all of that. But players who can do those things, can they do what he does? Hell no. Can they steal the ball from one of the best ball handlers in a situation down the stretch? No, they can't. They can't. He can. They can't. Can he wrestle the ball away from a really quick, twitchy guy like Amen Thompson? He probably can do it. Can any of these people that you rely upon do that? Hell no. But they keep your spacing, though. Even though you having spacing is not the end-all, be-all of your success, because you still getting your ass kicked with spacing. Wouldn't it be nice if you had somebody who can do things that nobody else could do? Oops, you do. You're just afraid to use them because they have problems that 90% of the league don't have. Hey, I'm like, yo, man, just with Vanderbilt, this is very simple. With Dalton Connect, it's a bit more complex because you're relying upon his shot making to overcome his weakness. But when it comes to Vanderbilt, just don't pass the ball to the man. Literally. Just ignore him on the offensive end and let him roam. He'll get his scoring off of offensive rebounds. Occasionally you'll pass him the ball, make him a connective piece to pass it in a hockey pass situation. Maybe get him a couple dunks and live with a couple missed layups if it comes to that. But don't be looking for him none at all. Don't look for him. If I were Vander, I'd be like, yo, you idiots need to stop passing to me, bro. Find your own shot. Just like on the defensive end, none of you idiots are going to help me get the ball away from Anthony Edwards at random. I got that on my own. None of you idiots are going to get 7 and 8 different offensive rebounds in one possession. I got that on my own. I don't ask y'all to help me in the stuff that I do well. Stop asking me to help you on the stuff that you need me to help you with so that I can be on the floor to do the things that I'm good at. That's what Vanderbilt needs to be saying. Because as long as you're asking me to do stuff I ain't no good at, you don't have me on the floor to do stuff you need me to do, for which none of y'all can do. Very simple stuff, man. Because people are married to the way things look, they forego the greatness that comes from allowing things to be just what they are. That's my point of view on this team. That's my point of view on this coaching staff. And hopefully we get this video to the right person before game 2, so they can start looking at things the right way. Because we're leaving a lot of meat on the bone because we're afraid of the weaknesses of the players that can do some superpower stuff that nobody else can do. Nobody else can do. That's like benching Shaq because he can't hit free throws. Or benching Ben Wallace because he can't shoot the 3. It's absolute stupidity. You got to be able to let people be themselves. And in the space of having to live with those weaknesses, you live with those weaknesses. And so that's where I'm at, man. And look, JJ, it's his responsibility to figure it out. It's his responsibility to figure it out. And this whole I can only play Vando 13 minutes because he doesn't fit in the offense bullcrap leaves you at a disadvantage on the other end of that. That playing him up to his best self doesn't leave you with. This whole I'm not going to play Dalton Connect because he can't play defense is leaving you without the ability to score 100 points in game 1 of a damn playoff game, bro. He led the team in scoring and only played like 3 minutes. He led the bench in scoring, rather. The whole damn bench. And he only played 3 minutes of basketball. That right there tells you there's something wrong with how we're doing things down there. And that is why I said our rotations were stupid. This is what I meant. Our schemes weren't very intelligent. Our energy was bad. and our rotations did stuff like this. And in total, we got 8 minutes off our bench. Another good 50-50 ball guy, Jordan Goodwin. You see him on the floor yesterday? And wonder why we slow to the balls. Slow to loose balls, but your best players at that, not on the floor. This is why I never agree with the idea that when playoffs come around, you're supposed to shrink your bench. Because a lot of times when you shrink your bench, you are forcing yourself into spaces where you're utilizing the strength and the limitations of the people that you're forcing yourself into, when that ain't what got you through the regular season. This player did this certain thing, you needed that ingredient. That player did a certain thing, you needed that ingredient. When you start removing those ingredients, you underestimate how important those ingredients were to your success. But in the playoffs, it's just understood that we do that. That doesn't make any sense unless the rest of my bench is absolutely terrible. And I'm going to bench certain guys that I've been using all season that help make my team the identity that it is. That's what I'm talking about with the Jameson stuff. Well, Jameson wasn't going to be used in the playoffs. Why? You need what he does. Why wouldn't he be used? Well, we want to keep more of our better guys on the floor. Better, if those players can't do literally everything, if they're not two-way stars with super athleticism and wingy ability and super connective pieces that can hit every shot, then chances are you're going to need certain things that those other guys do that are not as good as them to make up for it. So if you start removing those pieces and leaving those stars on the floor for 48 minutes, you got a couple things going wrong. One of the things going wrong is obvious, which is you not having those things on the floor to help you. What also goes wrong is when one of those stars get hurt, now you're bringing in role players that haven't played much. And we know how role players' confidence goes when they haven't played much. It ain't very good. They're already deficient, and now you keep them off the floor, they're not getting any better. In fact, they're getting worse. Complacent, and all these different things that role players have that go wrong when they're not believed in, and all that different stuff. And you're putting more pressure on your stars to stay healthy and more physical basketball play, for which the playoffs are. So the likelihood that those guys are going to get hurt, for which is going to expose the fact that these role players haven't been played and you're going to need to use them, increases because you don't keep them fresh. No fresh legs. It's a lot of things that go wrong when you shrink your bench. But the credence of that isn't considered because every team shrinks their bench. And now you got more superstars on the floor at a given moment. So if those superstars aren't matched with the same talent, then they're going to run past the players that are on the floor with them. No, they're not. Because no matter how talented a guy is, he's going to get worn down. See, this is where the conversation between being fresh and effective versus being uber talented and fresh becomes blurred for a lot of people who analyze this sport. A tired superstar is still tired, fam. His legs are shot, his fall is short, his shot goes short. He doesn't get back on defense as quick. He's not as fast to lose balls. He can be as talented as Michael Jordan himself. He's still a mortal man who's going to get tired. Unless he's built like prime LeBron James and Russell Westbrook, his super talented ass is going to get tired. He has 6 fouls to use, so he can get in foul trouble. None of his talent ain't going to absolve him from those realities. He could roll an ankle and may want to play through it. Now he's more of a liability on the defense and the offensive end because he's hobbled. But you're leaning on this star, assuming that just because he's very talented at basketball, that he's also got some special gift that allows him to overcome his physical nature as a human being. This is where that philosophy goes to hell. I'm going to shrink my bench because I want to keep my best players on your floor. Your best players are still human beings who are going to get tired, fam. Who are still at their best when they have a freshness to their legs and an adequate amount of rest and recovery and hydration. Whether he's the worst player on the bench or the best player on the bench, he's beholden to those limitations as a human being. So as it pertains to you being able to get the most out of him, after playing 82 game schedule, And your solution is to keep him on the floor more after being so damn drawn and worn out by the 82-game schedule. You're going to take away the backups that he did have in place throughout the course of the season. When the game elevates the most and he's probably more tired, that works against you in so many ways. And that these basketball analysts and these coaches don't understand that blows my mind. You're asking human beings who are already exhausted, who have to raise their level of play in the playoffs, to play more basketball than they were before. And this makes sense to you. Oh, because he's super talented. He's still a person. He's better than everybody else. You used him a lot because of it, did you not? You wore him down this season because of that, did you not? Well, the other team is doing it too, and they're going to suffer the same thing. They're going to wear this guy down. And you know what ends up happening? You end up paying him a lot of money for what he's going to do tomorrow, but you wore him down yesterday, so now he ain't going to do what he did yesterday tomorrow. You want to pay Paul George $300 million when the Clippers have ran him to the ground. Indy ran him to the ground for the last 13 years, and now you expect for him to live up the production of what he already done when he's exhausted and dealt with all kinds of knee injuries and leg injuries. And these GMs look, and these coaches and owners look confused. There's nothing confusing about this. You have a million years of data of this. You're just ain't paying attention to the data because you're too busy focused on the other things. And this is what I want everybody to understand when they listen to me. I'm not a X's and O's guy. I'm not the guy that's going to say, well, the pick and roll is this way and they hunted him. I don't think of the game like that. That's not how I operate. That's not where my intelligence lies. My intelligence lies in this area. This is what I'm most looking at a lot of times when I'm looking at the game. Franchise health from the top down, and then furthermore how these players are utilized throughout the course of a long schedule. And pointing out the mistakes of these GMs, owners, and these coaches. That's where I can really do my thing. I ain't the guy that's gonna say, well, we got this scheme and this scheme and this scheme, and then they put this now, and then that's not me. I'm not good at that. You go to somebody else for that. I'm the guy to say, listen, if you're gonna overplay this guy throughout the course of 82 games, and then play him even more when the playoffs come around, when there's so much on the line, the game becomes more physical, you're likely gonna wear him down. And you're still going to end up exposing all them people that you don't want to play any damn way. They're going to be on the floor because you're going to have to play them. You're likely better if you utilize those guys in a balanced way with those stars so that you can keep the stars healthy, so that you can keep the role players in rhythm, getting as good as they need to be. And then when you have to use those role players, they're already in a nice little rhythm and flow of being who it is their ceiling is, which may not be very high, but it can help you just long enough to keep the best players on the floor fresh. Your superstar will have fresh legs further into the playoffs when the game becomes more physical, because you will have utilized his backups well enough so that he can be fresh. And it's so easy to see and yet so complicated. And it trickles down to so many different problems that these franchises have. They end up firing coaches that they have to pay 3 years after they fire them because of the issues that trickle down from these type of things. This is not hard. This is not difficult. But you got people making millions and millions of dollars who don't understand these concepts, and they fail. Blows my mind. Video 44. I thank you all for watching.